think we'll kick off. So the subject is emotions. And this really sort of came up because I was having a few conversations with you all in your weekly check-ins, and there was a common theme of around what happens with emotions and how do I not get caught up in the story around the emotion. So I thought it might be quite helpful to do a session around how somatically we approach emotions, which is very different to how we would normally sort of think and analyze. So it's going to be a very practical class, but I just wanted to start by giving you like my overview or the theory of emotions according to Andrea. This is going to be, so feel free to agree or disagree, but these are my thoughts on emotions. So I think that in terms of like what we label emotions, so fear, joy, happiness, these names really come from what we're taught as children. So we're taught by our parents, oh, you look like you're angry, or you're happy today. So we start to give a feeling in our body a name, and we connect it with a word. But actually, what comes first is not the word. What comes first is the bodily sensation. And we're going to explore this in a minute and see whether this is true. But I have been willing to bet that if we all described anger, there will be some consistency probably in terms of what we feel, and if we would describe it exactly as we feel it in our body. However, everyone's interpretation of that feeling and how it presents in their body is different. So I find the word, the language can sometimes not be helpful. And what can be more helpful is just identifying what is it that we're noticing in our body is step number one. And then if we take the word away from that and just describe it as a heaviness on my shoulders or a tightness in my chest or a restriction in my throat, then that enables us more easily to start to think about what does my body need? What's my body trying to tell me with this sensation? As soon as we put a label on it or a word, we tend to start to go into head space, which then starts to create, what is this? Where is it coming from? What's the story around it? Which sometimes is not so helpful. So we're just going to think about that and more importantly, feel that in tonight's class. So what I thought I would start with is let's just start and see where we are right now. So just gently close your eyes or lower your gaze. And for anyone that's passed day 2 of the courses, we're going to do a window of tolerance type check-in. However, more looking at what our sensations are in our body than the window. So I'm going to give you some cues just to help you. So just notice in your body right now, just do a little scan, and we're looking for sensations in the body. So just see if you can connect to sensations. And I'm going to give you some words to help you with this, if this is a new concept. So now, for people in the UK, when I say this one, you're going to say, yeah, damn right, warmth. So in the UK, we're experiencing 30 degrees. And for us people in the UK, that's like, Sahara hot. So warmth, we've probably all got areas of warmth right now. But is there anywhere that feels warmer than anywhere else? Or there's like a sensation of maybe heat? And then the opposing of that would be coolness. Maybe there's buzzing or tingling. Perhaps pressure or heaviness, lightness, openness, tightness. There might be like sort of little pulsing feelings, emptiness, or maybe stillness. So just see what you can find. And you might want to, this might help you if you're new to the felt sense practice. And when I say in the felt sense video, what do you feel? What might be easier is what sensations are you noticing? If what do you feel is not doing it for you, try what sensations are there. So just noticing that right now. And then we're going to go into just a little exercise around some emotions and just see what we notice. So we're going to start with an easy one. So happiness. So bring to mind a moment of happiness. Again, just keep your eyes closed. And just something simple. So we just want sort of a little simple, just thinking how there's a phrase for it lately. It's just like, it's like micro moments of joy, but that's not the phrase. So we're looking for just like a little tiny moment of happiness. So it might be like today, if you went, so I had, at lunch, I went and sat in my hammock in the garden and I just had the sun on my face. So that would be like really nice for me to remember that feeling of the sun on my face while I was eating my lunch. So it might be something like that. It might be a friend or something where you've had a good laugh recently and you can bring that to mind. It might be picking up a pet or stroking a loved pet. It might be a favorite place that you've been to recently and just sat in your favorite place. So just thinking, so a moment of happiness, and we are using a word to bring this to mind at the moment. So I'm just going to give you a minute to locate that, really bring it to mind. So if you can, employ all your senses in it, so you can just, the feeling of it, what you can see, if there's any smell associated as well, just really noticing that. And now what we're going to do is just take away the word happy. And I just want you to drop down into your body whilst keeping this picture very clearly in mind. And just noticing what you can feel, what sensations are there in your body. What's going on with your breath as you're imagining this? So breath is always a really good indicator as well as to our sort of body state. So just notice your breath. Is it fast, slow, shallow, deep, smooth, juddery, through your nose, through your mouth? And you might, for people that are really visual, there might be, as you're bringing this moment of happiness to mind, there might be a colour as well that really comes clearly. For me, it's like it's a colour of my yoga mat, which I can't lift up at the moment, but it's sort of like a purpley colour. But it might be different for you. If you're a visual person, there might be a colour associated as well, or perhaps a shape. So if you've got that, what I'm going to do now is ask if you would be happy to share what you had. And we're going to see whether things are different for people in terms of the description of happiness. So you can share either whatever's more comfortable for you. So either pop it in the chat or come off mute and just share vocally if that feels easier. I mean, there is some consistency across these, but they're different, aren't they? So, you know, when we use a word and we feel something, we're assuming that it's pocket foot. No, I'll cut. It'll come to me in a minute, Kate. It's like I can't think. I need to just stop thinking about it, and then it'll ping into my mind. So you can see how these experiences are very different. So somatically, like with emotion, we try not to give it a label, and we try to more connect to what is going on in our body, and then this then allows us to then start to move to, okay, and what's my body trying to tell me and what does my body need? So let's just do one more exercise before we're going to move on to, I suppose we would call like positive emotion. We've just done negative emotion. We're going to move on to, but not too negative, because I don't want you to go away from this meeting like, oh, on a lovely summer's evening that we have in the UK now. So we're just going to start with, and again, if you've done week 3 of the program, there's the safety anchors. So I just want you to, and again, I just want you to notice in your body when you access an anchor, but we're going to use a person or a place. So I just want you to bring to mind again, just gently close your eyes or lower your gaze and just bring to mind either a place where you feel completely safe, absolutely safe, or a person that makes you feel completely safe. And again, once you've got that personal place really clearly in mind, just again dropping into your body and noticing what's there for you. And it might be quite nice so that we can get away from, although I am going to ask you to describe it in a minute, so you are going to have to use words, but just so for the moment, so we can get away from words, wherever you're noticing it in your body, it might be nice to just put your hand. So just acknowledge it wherever the feeling is in your body. So for me, safety is definitely, it's more sort of heart space for me. So I would be putting my hands here. And potentially also here, because my shoulders sort of drop a little bit. So for any of you that have jaw in your routines, you might put your hands here for safety, because it might mean that your jaw stops clenching. It just relaxes a little bit. So when you're ready, just float your eyes open. Just tell me what you noticed in your body with that feeling of safety. Poignant what you said about the chest relaxing, because when we do, if anyone's done the chest opening pose in the videos, this is a very vulnerable position. When we feel completely safe, we can, like when you get a dog that really loves you and it lets you scratch its belly, it's being very vulnerable there. And that, like this, so this chest opening is, a real sign of safety. What else have we got? Yeah, lovely big deep breaths, calmer, easier breathing, sense of well-being and being held. Yeah, lovely. That's great. So there's definitely some common ground around breath, easier breathing, deeper breathing, feeling stuff in sort of solar plexus, chest area. So now, again, lower gaze, and we're just going to bring to mind a time when you felt frustrated. So we don't want sort of frustration to the point of anger. So just something that's like a small frustration, maybe something that's like 4 or 5 out of 10. That's like a bit. It's like, oh, that type of noise, not about to punch someone type of noise. Just bring that to mind, whatever that is. If it's a thing, maybe something someone does, maybe a person that you have to deal with at work or whatever that you can't sort of avoid. Just bring that to mind. And again, just drop down into your body. I just want you to notice again what you're feeling there. Now you might notice with this, because we've gone into something that's a little more, so I always call this a little more pushy. So with our bodies, we might be noticing more sharp type things. So there might be some edges and some what feels like maybe boundaries or hardening happening, as well as a place where it becomes more noticeable. But in terms of the feeling, for me, it's always so this type of like frustration, anger is always a pushy feeling and a hardening, as opposed to a softening and a relaxing, which we had on the happiness and the safety. So let's take that a step further before we share. This is why I asked you to bring a yoga mat, and we may not, in fact, lie down, but we may. So I'd like you to just go back to wherever that frustration feeling was, connecting to where that is in your body, and just then telling me in the chat or vocally where you're noticing that feeling. And we're just going to explore. So for me to say now, probably, what does your body need? You'll probably say, well, I don't blooming know. You're the coach, you tell me. So that's what I'm going to try and do, is to give you some ideas to experiment with over like the next couple of days or so. So you can so the idea with this is it's like the emotions and where we feel them. It's not the same for everyone. So if people, someone said shoulders and I gave you something, this is why I do personal plans for people. It won't, the what does your body need will not be the same. Buzzing in arms and legs and shallow breathing. So, but for buzzing, anything where you're feeling buzzing, that normally indicates overcharge in the body, so excess energy. So with anything like that, I would use any type of shaking. So shaking to sort of shift the energy. So maybe we could all have a go at that. So if you haven't done this before, there is a video on this, I think I'm not sure it's in the stress release, because it's in it's a release technique. I normally use it for release, but we would stand up. So I don't know if we're going to be able to, hope you can see me. So we're going to stand up, flip my laptop up and move back a bit. And then we literally just going to start. So just start by bouncing on your heels, which is quite nice because we get a nice grounded feel by doing that. And then as you start to bounce, just let your body go as loose as you can so that the vibration of the bounce goes all through your body. So it's moving up. And then we can just start to shake. So we're just going to shake up and just see what feels good. So hands, you can just like move your shoulders up and down, let your chest go loose. And then the other one, because you mentioned shallow breathing, we'll just do a couple of these because this is quite powerful, but you can bring in the breath. So we're just going to do a big belly breath and then a big exhale, but we're going to bring our arms in at the same time. So we're going to inhale and then just like you're shaking it off. Yeah. This is quite a nice one for anger as well. So you're literally just like sort of throwing it off. Okay, so that one's quite nice for anything buzzy, anything that feels stuck. Okay, so let's take a seat and see. And again, that might not have been good for you, and you might feel like you needed something a little more gentle. In which case, you could do a similar thing just seated, just like sort of gentle shaking. Tapping is quite nice for shifting tingling type energy through the body. If you feel like you don't want to do something that's too, that was quite powerful. If you wanted something a bit gentler. So let's see what we have. Okay, so tight and chest, okay, and shoulder. And before that we had jaw. So let's go to anything throat related. Humming or vocalization is nice, and particularly I find like with women where we tend to like bite our tongues and hold our words and not speak what we want to say. We can get like this sort of, if I were to tell you to scream, some of you might. I've done this in workshops where we've been in a room and people have been like, really, I don't think so. But so if we were to say instead, just hum, just make a humming, because that's less threatening, but we're still exercising our vocal cords and we're still allowing our voice to come out, the sound, yeah? So humming is quite a nice one. So let's all try so we're just going to inhale through the nose and then just hum out. And we'll do a couple of those. And you can just check in as you're doing these things. Does this feel like this is what my body wants? Does it feel like it's either soothing? We're not looking to necessarily like immediately I have to release the emotion, because sometimes, or the feeling, sometimes the feeling has to stay there a little bit and we just have to accept that feeling's there. So what helps me with that is, because we put words to things and we have like good emotions and bad emotions, I try to allow every emotion to just be, whether it's happiness or anger or sadness or grief. They're all part of the human experience. So to try not to rush through them, but just allow them to be. With the voice again, or the throat, so the humming, and you can experiment with different sounds, like sort of vowel sounds. So ah, oh, and just making different noises and just see what does that do to the throat? Does that help the throat? And jaw, so jaw and throat are normally like holding back words, or having sort of bit biting your tongue. Shoulders, okay, so shoulders again, we can do just some gentle shoulder rolls, can be quite nice, sort of up and down. We can even so it's quite nice to bring the breath in with this, so inhaling up, exhaling, just let them drop, inhaling up, exhaling, drop, inhaling, exhaling. And then I'm just going to cover chest, because that seems to be a really, chest is a very common one. So chest is really individual, and And you really have to feel into this. So it might be enough. I'm going to start with like the smallest thing, because as I said, like it can make you feel quite vulnerable and unsafe if you go too quickly with too open a gesture. So the smallest thing we could do is if we're seated, we could just put our hands on our knees and we could round our shoulders so that we're like in a sort of curled up protective position. And then we could just drop our shoulders down and back and open the chest. Just see how that feels. So that's step one. We can round our shoulders, and then step two, we could open up our throat to the sky and drop our shoulders back. So again, we're more open now, and this will help also with the throat and the jaw. We could round our shoulders and we could bring our hands behind us and then lean back. So we're doing like a little mini back bend. And hold there, just breathing in and out. So again, you just feel into, you can hold this position for, a minute or so, just breathing in and out through the nose, if that feels nice. And just acknowledging that. So whatever that sensation is, just acknowledging that's there, and just seeing if that helps the body just to feel easier with it. So we want to just name it as like, I'm feeling a tightness in my chest, or I'm feeling a heaviness in my chest. I'm feeling vulnerable and my chest wants to close. I'm feeling like I need to curl up, perhaps. So just see how that feels. The next expression of that, which is why I asked you to bring a yoga block, let's just see if I can turn this down slightly, would be, so I've got a rolled up blanket here. You can do it with a rolled up blanket or a yoga block. So you put so you can see, move my legs. So you put the blanket long ways or the yoga block long ways. And then we're just going to literally lie back on that, whatever you have, whether it's a yoga block or blanket, just letting your legs go straight and then your arms out to the side. So this is the fullest rear, and this is like a complete I surrender, and not as in I give in, it's just I relinquish control at this moment. And so we're just going breathing in and out through the nose. If you find this really, really uncomfortable, just build up to it. So you could, if that's really uncomfortable with your arms out, start with your arms across your chest. And then breathe in and out through the nose. You might want to bring to mind, if you've done the anchors module, bring to mind what your anchor is, or use your anchor if it's touch and you've got something there. And then you can just gently, so you might want to just put your elbows down now, if that feels okay. And then the final step is the arms out to the side. And we're just breathing gently in and out through the nose. Just being with that sensation, just seeing if that feels good in your body. Okay, just come back up whenever you're ready, just in your own time, no rush. That last pose, if anyone does yoga, is very similar to Shavasana, the final pose you do in a yoga sequence, the corpse pose. And when I started to really get into yoga, and they always say Shavasana is the hardest pose to do because you are not moving, you're just lying there. But obviously the literal translation is corpse pose. And a lot of yogis, when they're in that position, contemplate the impermanence of stuff. The obvious and most impermanent thing is life. We all die at some point. So the ultimate expression of a corpse pose is surrender to the fact that we all eventually will die. So it is complete surrender to having control over anything, really. It's quite a large step to take, but we can work up to that. So, but this is a very vulnerable position. But if you can get to be comfortable there, it can be really powerful for releasing stuff in the chest. Okay, I hope that really helped. I'm going to stop recording now so that I can hand over to all of you. If there's anything you want to share that you